When it comes to pocket RGB lights, there are a number of options out there. But if there's one that offers a vast amount of features and is arguably the best given its price point, that would be the Weeylite S05. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about how impressed I've been with this little light and why I think you might want to consider it as something to keep in your kit for a number of reasons. For full disclosure, Weeylite did send me two S05s to test out and make a review of, though no money exchanged hands here, and they do not get any input into this review, nor do they get to see it before I post it. Now, in terms of the specs and features of the S05, this is a pocket RGB light that has a color temperature range all the way from 2800 to 6800 Kelvin. The light in and of itself is a very small and compact design which weighs just 108 grams. On the rear of the light you have an OLED display that allows you to control the light in pretty much all of its modes with the different tactile buttons. The right side of the light has a USB-C port for charging, and the bottom of the light contains a 1/4-20 thread for being able to adapt this to different mounts. Worth noting that the front of this light contains to some extent a built-in diffuser, so you're never going to get truly the hardest light on your subject when you're filming with it, and in that case actually makes it a bit more pleasing. Now in terms of color accuracy, Weeylite rates this light with an RA value of +95% and a TLCI value of +97%. Now to charge this light will take around 3.5 hours to go from 0 to 100%. Weeylite officially states you can get 70 hours of battery life with this light at 100% intensity, though in my own testing going at sort of a 50 to 70% intensity, this light can actually last for hours on end. Now this light is Bluetooth capable and works with Weeylite's Weeylite Pro app, which we're going to talk about a bit later, so you can control this remotely with your smartphone in many ways. And in terms of what comes in the box with this light, you do have standard things like the manual, a USB Type-A to USB Type-C cord for being able to charge this light, and a small shoe mount with a 1/4-20 thread that you could easily use to pop this onto your camera or any other device that accepts this. The S05 also comes in a variety of different colors, 7 to be exact. In my case, I got the glazed blue and vibrant orange, but you can pick from a range of others that exist out there as well. So now let's dive into all the different color modes and functionality that this light provides, of which there are many. So with this light, you do have a standard CCT mode that allows you to select a color temperature range from 2800 to 6800 Kelvin, as noted before. And yes, that also allows you to select a magenta or green tint value if needed, and allows you to do this through the full intensity value of the light. Now, if you hold down the M or mode key, this will then switch you into the HSI, or hue, saturation, and intensity mode for the light, which allows you to do sort of a standard mix of colors that you would expect on other different RGB lights using these controls. Now hold the M key down again, and you are then switched into sort of an RGB plus mode, which allows you to select a range of different color intensities for the red, green, blue, white, and yellow channels. And this actually might be a more intuitive color picker for some people that have trouble sort of guessing and messing around with HSI values. Now toggle the M button again, and you are now sort of in its color chip mode, which allows you to select colors through a different way. You might see that a bit later in the Weeylite Pro app. And toggle the M button one last time, and you are now in its FX mode, which allows up to 26 different effects of a variety of different combinations of things. Now I'm not going to cover all 26 effects that this light offers, but you can rest assured that if you're thinking it has some of the standard fare you've come to expect in other pocket RGB lights, this will certainly contain that and then some. Maybe one of my favorite things about this light is how easy they've made it to navigate through these different modes and actually change settings on the light itself. This does not feel like a light where you absolutely need to use the Weeylite Pro app to control it, but needless to say, you can generally use the back controls of the light to pick a color, to be able to pick the correct intensity, to adjust the hue, the saturation of it, and not feel as though you're stuck with maybe only a few usable modes or a few usable settings that you need to unlock later by using the app. Not every brand and manufacturer of these pocket RGB lights, I think, really considers this, and so I really appreciate Weeylite actually being able to make this light as usable as they have. Now, because I've mentioned the app a few times up to this point, let's talk about the Weeylite Pro app. This is a free app you can download for either iOS or Android from each of their respective app stores. And I would say there definitely are a lot of pros with this app, though a couple cons that are definitely worth noting. For one, I truly appreciate how easy it is to actually get this app up and running with the lights. Literally, I installed the app, and without doing a single thing or having to run through a pairing exercise or anything, the app was already ready to go and control the lights. The lights were set up on the proper Bluetooth channel, and just by opening the app, I could control both of them simultaneously without any setup. Considering some of the hassles I've gone through with things like the Sidus Link app for Aputure devices to try to pair things or keep them connected as you're powering on and off devices, this was sort of a dream situation to actually get this up and running. So kudos to Weeylite for that. Now, as noted before, all of the different modes of the light you're going to be able to access through the app itself and control perhaps just as easily, if not even more so, given the controls are, of course, a bit more friendly to use on a phone. Now, beyond the modes of the light that you can control through the rear of it, there are some additional ones that you can access only through the app. That includes an XY coordinates option for picking your color. I mentioned the color chip option before, which is certainly going to be much more intuitive to use through the app than it is on the back of the light itself. You have an incredibly intuitive color picker, which, unlike a lot of color pickers, actually, as you're going over different surfaces and sort of scanning your environment, will actively change the color of the light even before you officially pick it, which makes previewing and sort of viewing what that color will look like a lot easier, I think, than having to specifically select it. And you have the ability to make and control your own scenes using different Weeylite devices with the app. There are some clunky bits here and there you're going to notice as you navigate through the app, and some things that maybe aren't particularly obvious until you actually select them, or things that maybe aren't named as best they could be. But by and large, this is a very usable and easily navigable app, and I would say adds a lot of features and functionality to what the light already offers. Now, I don't think I need to go over too explicitly what you can use a pocket RGB light for, but frankly, the sky's the limit. Of course, you can get a lot of different color pops and things with this. I've used many videos in the past where I've used my Aputure MCs to do the same thing, and needless to say, these lights serve the exact same purpose. Of course, these are also arguably powerful enough to even use as a small key light in terms of a very tight headshot or interview situation. Again, certainly not something that's going to compete with a much larger chip-on-board light, but something that if you need to carry in your back pocket and illuminate a subject or a scene very quickly, this is going to easily do the job. Now, when we're thinking of pocket RGB lights, obviously one of the standards that have been around for some time is the Aputure MC. And while my goal isn't to make this a just direct one-for-one comparison video, I do think it's worth pointing out how these two stack up against each other. Both lights have roughly the same color accuracy, with Aputure rating the MC at 97 plus TCLI. I know while I don't have a Sekonic to truly officially measure this, I will say that the lights seem relatively accurate within each other, maybe with some slight differences in green and magenta tint between the two. And in fact, while Aputure publishes actual lux ratings in terms of the light and Weeylite does not, I will tell you how these two seem to stack up in terms of brightness against each other. What I've noticed is that taking, say, 5600 Kelvin at 100% intensity with the MC tends to equate to around 70% intensity at the same color temperature with the Weeylite S05. I think this is because the S05 contains more LEDs than the MC and is slightly larger in size when stacking them up against each other, but needless to say, this does mean that the Weeylite S05 not only easily competes but arguably outperforms in some ways the MC. Battery life-wise, both of these are going to take roughly 3.5 hours to charge from 0 to 100, but Aputure rates the MC at getting around 2 hours of battery life at its maximum intensity, though I found this maybe is a bit more around an hour and a half or so as I've used these over time. Of course, the MC contains CCT, HSI, and other color modes similar to the S05, and does have an effects section, although the MC has 9 compared to the Weeylite S05's 26, though the color temperature range of the MC goes from 3200 to 6500, where again the S05 goes from 28 to 6800 Kelvin. There are similar controls and features on the body of the lights. Yes, on both there's a USB-C port for charging, yes there is an OLED display with some tactile buttons for being able to control both of these lights, and yes, both lights have a quarter 20 thread on them for being able to mount them in various ways. Of course, the MC does have a magnetic backing, which allows it to be mounted in some unique and interesting configurations, while the S05 is not magnetic. Though I'm going to be honest, I have an easier time operating the S05 manually with its controls than I do the MC. The MCs are very usable when it comes to Sidus Link, but I do find them a bit more finicky if you need to do anything more than CCT using the rear controls. And of course, speaking of that, yes, Aputure has arguably the gold standard of lighting apps in the Sidus Link app, and this works very well, not just with the MCs, but really all of Aputure's fixtures. But that said, Weeylite's app is also very compelling as well, and offers just as many features in a lot of different ways that Aputure's Sidus Link does. But in saying all that, you could probably tell these lights are actually very evenly matched in a lot of ways, which might lead you to believe that price-wise, they are also going to be equivalent, but this is where it gets interesting because these lights are very much not near each other when it comes to price, and perhaps that is my point of this video. So at the time of recording this video, the Aputure MC retails for around $90 US, and this is a pretty good value given what you get with that light. However, the Weeylite S05 retails for around $30 US, which means, yes, you can get easily 3 of the Weeylite S05s for the price that you would get a single Aputure MC. Are there going to be benefits and features that the MC offers that the S05 does not? Sure, in certain situations perhaps, but given all that you can do with the S05 and how much you get with it just straight out of the box, and given how cheap it actually is, it's almost a no-brainer and hard to say no to at least having maybe one of these in your kit to have as a backup RGB light, or something you can simply throw in your pocket or have on you if you need another one. I simply think Weeylite knocked this out of the park, and if you are looking for a simple, quick pocket RGB light to add to your kit, not only am I going to be adding this to mine, but I think you should consider the Weeylite S05 for your needs as well. So that is my take on the Weeylite S05. Hopefully this video has has been of some help to you, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if it has. A lot more to talk about with lighting coming up here on this channel, so definitely subscribe if you are interested in content around that. For now, that is all I have to say, so thanks for watching.